Next, this is the most important word. You have to deploy self-awareness. My friends, self-awareness is the most important word. If you don't know who you are, you have no shot. But do not be embarrassed of who you are.
You whip me on Wednesday, I'll see you Thursday afternoon. I will fight you every day. I will not settle. It's how you tranquilize your hope, because you don't want to deal with the pain of having not attained.
But you have got to change your mindset. You got to get funky if you want to be successful. If you think that they're going to mail this money to your house, you're dead wrong about that.
You never ever give up as Steve Jobs says I'm here. To make a dent in the universe, you will never hear me complain that it's someone else's fault why I'm not getting the grades I have the potential of achieving. If I don't like where I am, I'll work harder. My current situation is a perfect reflection of the hard work or lack work I put in. When you look at the all-time greats, there's one thing in common among them all. They all have relentless, sickening work ethic. To get to the top, you have to skip watching TV, going to every party, scrolling through social media, and wasting your time on unproductive things. Because while the average student is sleeping, you are hustling if you're doing well at school or university, if you're doing more than the group of friends you hang around with, if you're getting better grades than that, if you're doing more to move yourself forward than they are, then it's easy to fool yourself into thinking.
When I knew that I was an entrepreneur in the 80s, I got D's and F's in school, and that was not acceptable in the 80s and 90s in America. If you were a bad student in America in the 80s and 90s, you were a loser. My friends' parents looked at me as I was a loser, but I knew who I was. I was self-aware. I knew that I was an entrepreneur. I wanted to go and sell things on the weekend. I wanted to study the prices of wine and baseball cards instead of studying for school. I knew who I was. Playing video games seemed like a waste of time 20 years ago. Now there are people who make $50 million a year playing video games. If there is something you know and you like and you're passionate about, but it's not cool right now or important, do not deviate away from your thing.
So you move the goal to line up with where you are.
See, a lot of people want to exempt themselves from taking responsibility. All they want to do is talk about the problem. Every time you see them, they'll tell you their story. You want to take responsibility for your life. I got me here, I can get me out of this. I'm not going to be a volunteer victim. George Bernard Shaw said there are two kinds of people in life. He said those that make things happen and those that don't know what happened. Accept where you are and the responsibility that you're going to take yourself where you want to go.
You wanted a good husband, but you wasn't a good wife. You wanted children, but you wasn't a good parent. You wanted a good wife, but you wasn't a good man.
Triple down on your thing. The other thing is be self-aware. How many people here are an entrepreneur or want to be? Raise your hands. I'm just curious. It's a lot of hands. The reality is most of you can't be successful. I mean that. I'm not saying it to razz. It's rare to be a successful entrepreneur. It's hard. It's a real talent. We don't think it's a talent now because it's so easy to say you're one. One of the most important things about being self-aware is knowing, do you have the stomach to be an entrepreneur? Putting entrepreneur in your Instagram account, easy. Living the life of an entrepreneur where nobody else is on the line except you, hard, lonely, scary, difficult. If you do it because it's cool or you think it's right or you're not self-aware, it leads to depression and loss of money. If you deploy self-awareness and realize you're a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, you find an entrepreneur and you win. Self-awareness. You have to understand who you are. Without it, you are massively vulnerable in society.
I measure the value of a man by how hard he presses. That's how you can determine who you're fighting, by how hard they press. How hard you press tells me how hard you hit. You can be all big and muscle-bound and still not have no force behind your punch. Force, kinetic energy, energy in motion. You can't have energy sit.
Move so you can
Energy is measured by motion.
So you can get on with your life.
That's why the devil wants you to sit down, and shut up, and feel sorry for yourself. But you ought to blow the devil's mind this morning. I feel a pressing spirit in here this morning. I feel a determination in here this morning. I feel a fight in here this morning. Look at your neighbor and say, get on up them steps. Don't you get 40 and get tired. Don't you get 50 and get tired. Don't you get 60 and get tired. Don't you get 70 and get tired.
I talk to people as if I was deserving of all the things that this planet has to offer. Some of you are doing okay. You're getting decent grades at university. You're passing your exams. You're getting your assignments and on time, but you shouldn't be satisfied with just doing. Okay, no one should be aiming for average, and that includes you. You need to be set on climbing to the next level, and you're not going to reach the next level until you commit to becoming better than you were yesterday. When you start giving more, you'll start receiving more opportunities, more prosperity, stronger relationships, and better health. If you push yourself, you can always raise the bar in your life. You have to keep raising the bar. First you set standard, then you raise the bar.
I was flunking out of college. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I hope none of you can relate. I had a 1.7 grade point average. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop. They still call it beauty shop now? What they call it? Yeah, I'll sit in the beauty parlor. I was sitting in my mother's beauty parlor, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me this woman under the dryer. And every time she looked up, every time I looked up, she was looking at me. Just looking me in the eye. And I didn't know who she was, and I said, she said, somebody give me a pen, give me a pencil. I have a prophecy. March 27, 1975, she said, boy, you are gonna travel the world and speak to millions of people. Now, mind you, I was flunked out of college. I'm thinking about joining the army. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and she's telling me I'm gonna travel the world and speak to millions of people. Well, I have traveled the world, and I have spoke to millions of people.
If you think they're going to pave the way for you and make it easy, you're dead wrong about that. If you want to be successful, you got to change your mind, and you're going to have some faith. If you ain't got no faith, if you ain't got no relationship with God, you finna make this thing way harder than it's got to be. And I'm flat out telling you that right now. Look at here. You think you're going to be successful without God? Let me ask you something. How that's working out for you. I am here to tell you that you can come from nothing and become something. But you're going to have God. Now, you can come up with another way, but there ain't a book out there on the market how to make it without God.
But that's not the most important thing, the success that I had. The most important thing is that what she taught me and what she told me that day has stayed with me since. I've been protected, I've been directed, I've been corrected. I've kept God in my life, and it's kept me humble. I didn't always stick with him, but he always stuck with me. So stick with him in everything you do. If you think you want to do what you think I've done, then do what I've done and stick with God.
And she wrote prophecy. She couldn't even spell it. She wrote prophecy, and she wrote 1975, and she wrote the number 28. I'm born on the 28th. My wife is born on the 28th. My first son is born on the 20th. I don't know if it means anything. I don't know why she wrote 28, but she wrote prophecy, and she says, boy, you're going to speak to millions of people. She says, you're going to travel the world, and you're going to speak to millions of people.
It's 1,000 books about faith and how to make it with God. You're not going to make it without it. You can short circuit your ticket by in every living soul. He never created a person that he didn't give a gift to. All you got to do is uncover that gift that he gave you and start using it. The Bible says your gift will make room for you. Let me tell you something a guy told me one time. He said, Steve, he said, see what he drives, see the house he lives in, see who he knows. It took me about 6 months, and I was thinking about it. I decided to follow my boss home. I really did. So I got out, and I just sat in the parking lot. He worked late. I just waited. He started driving home. The car he was driving, not the car I drove.
You're only going to rise above average by working hard, by grinding, by hustling, by believing in yourself, by believing in yourself when no one else does, by becoming obsessed with reaching success, by sacrificing today for a better tomorrow, by getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself past perceived limitations, by sticking it out when things get tough, by using your pain as fuel to drive you to success, by taking responsibility of your life no matter what happens, by not using excuses to allow your poor results, by doing whatever it takes when your goals are so big that they scare small and you're so driven that you can't